Thanks for joining me on episode 653 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
I'm Shelley Lombard, founder of Millie Money. Learning how to invest will give you options for your future and to help others. Get inspired. One way to do that is to listen to this podcast, Inspired Stewardship, with my friend Scott Mader.
It's about that balance. And if sleep is the thing that you're giving up, if you're constantly cutting out sleep, it actually makes it harder for you to get more things done, not easier. It's a counterintuitive thing, but sometimes by actually forcing yourself to have limits, by forcing yourself to have boundaries, you will discover that you can get more efficient because of those boundaries.
Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world.
In today's episode about impacting the world by stewarding your time, I talk with you about having a calendar that allows you time for rest, the importance of sleep and rest, and why so many of us fail to give ourselves enough time for this.
As we talk about stewarding your time, wouldn't it be great if you could support this podcast and do it without just taking too long? Turns out you can't. All you have to do is use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon when you're ready to make a purchase via Amazon, and a small commission will come back to support the show just that quick. If you enjoy the show when you are ready to buy from Amazon, just use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon.
Let's talk about our calendar. Let's talk about looking at the time that we spend each week. The first thing I want to point out is that most of us don't do a very good job of actually paying attention to that. We don't pay attention to the cycles of time in our life. We don't really know how much time we spend working, how much time we spend playing, how much time we spend sleeping. That's something that I actually work with when I'm working with people in coaching, is finding those rhythms and identifying what's going on. Just like money, if you don't pay attention to how you use your time, it's all too easy for it to just slip away. But one thing I want to identify in this episode today is about having time to rest too. Again, I'm reminded of that with everything that's going on right now. A lot of us are running from emergency to emergency under a constant state of low-grade stress where we're worried about things that are going on in the world. And I think that's just going to continue to ramp up as we go forward over the next few months. And I would encourage you to intentionally take a half a step back and recognize and pay attention to how much time do you have built into your day for actual, true rest. First off, look at what time do you go to bed and what time do you wake up? Are you giving yourself ample time to actually sleep? Look at your schedule and look at your time and see if this is something that you have allowed yourself to take days off. Have you allowed and scheduled in time for family, time for relaxation? Not just time where you take off from work, but you end up working all day long, but time to actually recreate, time to actually read, time to actually take a walk outside, time to spend some time doing things. This isn't about just vegging in front of Netflix either. It's about paying attention to how you actually recharge your batteries. What are the things that you need to do to allow yourself, body and mind and soul and spirit, all time to kind of come back to a place of rest, to recharge, to zone up? If you're an extrovert or if you're an introvert, you need a certain amount of time to do this where you actually just allow your mind to be turned off. You just do some popcorn movies or do some popcorn time, things where it's just like eating candy. It's about sweet but no nutrition. I'm a big proponent of buckling down and hustling and getting a lot of things done. I'm a big proponent of productivity, but I'm not a big proponent of busyness. Think it's important to focus on getting the right things done, not just getting more stuff done. And as part of that, sleep and rest are so important. There's study after study that shows that if you do not get ample sleep, your brain and your body don't reset. It causes you to get sick easier. It causes you to have all sorts of health problems. It makes it more difficult to deal with stress. And let's face it, right now, most of us are undergoing stress. Sleep and rest are both important. And yet also studies show that for most of us, sleep is actually one of the most undertreated things that we have going on. We tend to cut sleep out first because we don't give ourselves enough time for rest. Why? Because we're focused all the time on only work. And when I'm coaching with people, they usually come to me because they want to get more things done. They want to be more efficient. They want to be able to get more things done. But part of what we do is figure out the balance, because you cannot constantly just put new things onto your plate without taking away some things as well. It's about that balance. And if sleep is the thing that you're giving up, if you're constantly cutting out sleep, it actually makes it harder for you to get more things done, not easier. It's a counterintuitive thing, but sometimes by actually forcing yourself to have limits, by forcing yourself to have boundaries, you will discover that you can get more efficient because of those boundaries. Having a hard stop where you turn off for the day and go recharge your batteries helps you get more done because you know that hard stop is coming. Paying attention to the rhythm of energy in your body and in your mind helps you figure out when should you put the most important task. Paying attention to how sleep affects you and whether or not you get enough sleep and how that does actually matters. Because see, the old thing about 8 hours of sleep is not universally true. It depends on who you are. It depends on your age. It also depends on what's going on in your life. There's a rhythm to our life that all too often we ignore. And the key here isn't really a magic about go to bed early, get up early. The key is to pay attention to the rhythms of your life. Pay attention to the signals that your body and your mind and your spirit are sending you, and then reorganize your life to be in alignment with those. Because the truth is, alignment is more important than the amount. Alignment of our money, alignment of our spirit, alignment of our energy, alignment of our time. This is what allows us to be more productive for all of our passions. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you like this episode on the stewardship of time, be sure to sign up for our Stewardship of Time Tips series by going to inspiredstewardship.com/time or texting 44222 time tips, and that'll get you our best tips on stewarding your time. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.